Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all so much for being here. Bear with me, I'm always nervous for like the first 45 seconds until I get it together and realize I've done this 101 million times. So as you heard, my name is Emmy, and I am the founder of a nonprofit here in Wisconsin. What I do is go around and give trainings to medical professionals, first responders, law enforcement, EMTs, community members on what sex trafficking is, how to not fit it into a small box, right? And what you can do to prevent it. But most importantly, how to provide hope for other survivors. I was born in Milwaukee, and when I was about 8, my mom moved my sister and I to the suburbs around the Hartford area. When I look at this picture of myself, I see a happy little girl that had all of the normal things that children had, normal birthday parties with lots of friends and people all around and everything happy and cheery. I think, yeah, to the outside world, we looked like a normal American family.
I always felt that living in the suburbs was, if you lived in the suburbs, you lived a Lifetime movie, perfect life type of thing. Little did I know that I actually threw my daughter right into the fire.
I met a guy my junior year of high school, and I thought he was it. I thought he was super cool and was going to be my knight in shining armor. And little did I know he was into drugs. He was into the drug scene. But I persisted anyways, and I stayed in it, and sure enough, it wasn't long before I started doing those very drugs with him.
My sister started dating this boy, and she was crazy about him, and for the first time, she started to lie. And it were just very small things about, where she was and who she was with, and it was like, well, that's not typical of her. Why would she be doing that? And so that kind of really stood out to us, and it was just very simple things.
I had met my trafficker, my drug dealer, through another female. She wanted to be my friend. She wanted to help me, and at the time I really needed somebody. I needed a shoulder to lean on, and she was that. Little did I know she had been watching me for months.
They were getting to know her. They were, finding out information about her family, her friends, what she liked to do, what her insecurities were. They were her people for 2 years.
And my drug dealer kept saying, "Come stay with me. I'm gonna make your life better." He sold me the American dream, and I bought it. I was in need of somebody saving me. I thought I needed saving. So by the time I got to his house, had him pick me up, he took my identification and social security card. He had everything. He promised me, just little things like going shopping to get a new wardrobe, or, a car, or my tickets paid off. Things girls around my age needed.
They saw her vulnerabilities, and they also gathered information to use against her.
I didn't have a lot of personal items, but I always had pictures of my nephews. So when somebody holds a loaded gun to your head and you say, "You do what I'm telling you to do, or I'm gonna kill your loved ones," you do it. So that's how it happened. He had the phone, so he would take the calls. A lot of this was done through text message. A lot was done through apps, through various sites, and through a touch of a button on his phone, he sold me to the highest bidder. More often than not, it was men on their way to work with their families at home, or men on Sundays, and they drop their wife and kids off at church. It is men you would never think about. Your CEOs, your businessmen, your soccer dads, cops, politicians, priests, you name it, I've probably come across it, and if I haven't, I know somebody that has.
When Em disappeared, it was actually on my birthday. She had called me to wish me a happy birthday, and then she told me that she had gotten a job to be a nanny in St. Louis, and she was going down there. And the whole thing just didn't set right with me. So I told her how I felt, and then we hung up. And then a few minutes later, a gentleman called and kind of read me the riot act and told me I was never going to see my daughter again. And then I lost it, and I just felt like the life was sucked right out of me. I felt so helpless.
So I spent about 7 hours at the police department, and I sat down with a few detectives there who enlightened me to this whole other world that I was completely naive about. There's this website called backpages.com where the police officer told me you can order a woman faster than you can order a pizza. I kind of gave him a description, and it took a few hours, of them searching and me searching, and we found an ad for my sister for sale. They had dyed her hair red, and there was a number on there. And so from there, we Google searched that number and found that she was listed on about 20 other websites for sale.
I had never even heard of Backpages, and here these women are being posted for sale, and there's the phone number, and that's the same number that's on my telephone from the caller ID. And I just oh my God, who does this?
But I put up I think it was maybe the same night, I put on Facebook, my sister is missing. I need your help. I have some really, really amazing friends who tweeted it out.
After a certain point, I had realized that they were looking for me because there were missing persons posters up and a Facebook page, but I was hiding in plain sight. And so many victims today we are hiding in plain sight. There were multiple times that I knew I wanted to get out of the life, that I needed to get out of the life, but I didn't know how, and I didn't want to be dope sick, and I didn't want to go to jail. I was scared. I had went into a store and stole a bunch of hygiene products, and it was almost like I did it intentionally to get caught. The female officer came, and I turned around and put my hands behind my back and said, "I'm ready. You can take me." And she's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm making your job easier," because I knew I was getting arrested. And I got into the cop car, and there was a song playing with the words, "I know you'll be safe and sound." I took a deep breath, and I knew, as much as I didn't know I was a victim, I knew from that point forward everything was going to be okay. There is not a single county in our entire state or our nation that has not been affected by sex trafficking. Sex trafficking does not discriminate. It does not look for where you have come from, how you grew up. There are no boundaries. I am proud to be able to say that I have trained over 2,500 professionals in our community throughout our state.
These are people who are going into homes that need to know what to look for. Multiple people living in a situation, not enough beds, too many people, women who are bruised.
I want people to be able to talk about it openly. I want people to not be judged who have been through it. And I want parents to know that it can and will affect your family if you do not become educated. And if I can change one person's life, one person's perspective, that means I did my job. My name is Emmy, and I am a sex trafficking survivor. And I am the founder of Lacey Soap Project. Crazy, right? How incredibly powerful. But something you all need to realize, I'm not unique. My story is not unique. This is happening to hundreds of thousands of people every day, right here on our soil. So how many of you have a pretty good understanding of what sex trafficking is? Can I see a show of hands? Okay, so still a significant amount of people that don't. So again, I want you guys to be able to leave here with an understanding of what it is and what you can do about it, what you can do differently. That is our goal, and to help achieve these goals, we created an awareness campaign to bring light to this topic, to this dark topic, so people would start the conversation and kind of be rattled a little bit, right? Sometimes we have to get uncomfortable to make a change, and that's exactly what our goal was with this campaign. Oh, is this where I give
Miss
it to you?
Mary Mac, all dressed in black. Didn't tell her mother, there was a man who said she must follow his plans. He promised love, and told her lies. She'll be a slave till the day she dies.
What we wanted to do was to grab people's attention. What does Miss Mary Mack have anything to do with sex trafficking? That's a great question. It doesn't. The short answer is it doesn't. But it got your attention. We wanted to stand out from other organizations using images. In fact, the picture that was up of me, ooh, that got very loud. The picture that was up of me that said Emmy Myers, founder, maybe I shouldn't put my hands up. There was a person chained, right, with hands like this that said, "Help me." Did you guys see that? That's a terrible image to use. A lot of organizations are using images that play into what sex trafficking isn't. My hands weren't tied. So the campaign, we wanted people to see that it's normal people in normal houses. It can happen to anyone from all walks of life. This is me in front of one of the billboards that we had up. It's my face, and it says I was sold to the highest bidder. We did a campaign the year before with some more billboards. I had gotten an idea, just to give you guys a quick rundown. I had gotten this idea from a billboard. It said wantaboard.com. And I'm like, yes, I want a board. So I called, and I'm really impulsive and crazy and just, kind of go with the flow. And I talked to the person with this advertisement company and got some billboards up. I realized, though, in this impulsive process that nobody wanted to donate to me because I wasn't a nonprofit. So that's how Lacey's Hope Project was started. Was with our first billboard campaign. 49 billboards later, and we are moving mountains. We are changing lives. There's not one speech that I have done that someone has not come up after and said, "Wow, the things you talked about, I know someone." Or, "This has happened to me, and you give me hope. You make me want to talk or do something differently." So I know what I'm doing is working. These are other examples. So what do you guys think of so if I walk, kind of-ish, I just don't have to stay in one spot. Okay, it still goes. What do you guys think of when you hear sex trafficking? Audience participation is good. The movie Taken. Okay, and what'd someone say over here? Okay. Not here. Yes, not here. Absolutely. So the movie Taken, I'm going to use that one. That's a great example. Or not here. Foreign, right? Things that aren't happening right under our noses. It is a huge misconception of our culture. These images have been instilled in our minds. I'd like to think that when I wake up, I don't look like a sex trafficking victim. When I look in the mirror, I can tell you, usually when I go speak, and I get to a town or place, 99% of the time I'm able to say I was sold here. I have not been to La Crosse, so I've not been sold here. Fortunately. But it's happening in all 72 counties of our state. There is no area, there is no place that is immune. And if we keep looking for these images, we are going to miss all of the signs. And we can't be looking for stuff like the movie Taken, because it's not reality, or the images of somebody with their hands up, shackled. I was able to come and go. I could go to the store if I wanted, I could go to the gas station, I could go outside. Before it had happened to me, I thought all those same things. And that's why I wasn't able to recognize that I was a victim and that it was happening, because I had no education on what it was. And you guys sitting here have such an amazing opportunity after you leave this room to be able to identify what's happening all around us. So back to the point I was going to reference when I said I can say I was usually sold in that city. I would say I could put myself online right now, dressed as I am right now, and either walk into a hotel room around here or go to someone's house. I can absolutely guarantee it. And I would never tell you something that I'm not sure of. And if I'm not sure, then I'll tell you I'm not sure. I'm positive. Because again, if we're looking for those images, we're going to miss it. I wouldn't walk around La Crosse half naked. That raises some red flags, some really big red flags. So sex trafficking, the federal definition is to use force, fraud, or coercion. In order to prove a sex trafficking case, you have to be able to prove those three things in the court of law. Let me please point out to you that someone under the age of 18, you do not have to prove that. You do not have to prove force, fraud, or coercion to make a sex trafficking case for someone under the age of 18. So force, let me tie it in. I like to connect dots for people. He held a gun to my head. It's so easy for people to say, and again, I've trained probably 15,000 people now since we did this documentary, total. So I've taken a lot of questions, I've heard a lot of feedback, and everybody always wonders, well, how? How could you let this happen? I wouldn't have done that. I would have made a different decision. How many of you have someone you love, right? Child, grandchild, aunt, niece, nephew, whatever. This is a rhetorical question, and I definitely do not expect an answer. But if someone held a loaded gun to your head and said, you do this, or I'm going to kill that person that you love, would you honestly not do the same thing I did? Because yes, I made a choice, absolutely. But the choice I made was what I thought was the better option of the two choices that I had. So I was forced. He forced me. He promised me that he would change my life, that all these great things would happen and we would be awesome together and, live this life of luxury. But it was all a lie. Once I was there, he said, well, now I'm giving you somewhere to stay. Now I'm feeding you, now I'm giving you dope, and I don't like to bring up the fact that I did heroin often, and I'm going to tell you why. I used to start my speeches by saying, hi, my name is Emmy. I'm a recovering heroin addict and the founder of Lacey's Help Project. I don't anymore, because then there's always someone thinking, well, my daughter or son doesn't do heroin, so it can't happen to them. And that's just not the case. But in my case, he said, well, I'm giving you dope, so you have to do this. That's coercion. He sold me the American dream, and I bought it. So we have what time is it? Already? Oh, gosh. Okay, y'all. We're going to get it together here. God, it went so fast. Okay, let me put a little pep in my step. So how does it work? It's a crime of psychology. It's like I just drank a cup of coffee that you guys didn't see. Traffickers prey on vulnerabilities. I'm going to walk so I don't have to stay. So, is that cool with you guys? Okay. Traffickers prey on vulnerabilities. The reason why they're able to get youth to do what they do is because all these kids want things, right? They want the new iPhone, they want new Jordans, they want to stay out late, they want to eat Cheetos after 9 p.m. Yes, these are all real life examples. So traffickers come in and prey on all of these vulnerabilities. For me, it was my basic needs. Shelter, food, water. That's what I needed from him. And he slipped right in to provide that. So when I say not like the movie Taken, it's not. It's not somebody handcuffing someone. It's a game of mental manipulation and brainwashing that takes time. I was friends with that female for months. I trusted her. I thought she was my friend. So when she introduced me to him, why wouldn't I have trusted her? Or him, excuse me. I trusted her, so I thought I could trust him. I was 24 years old when I was trafficked. Not including, the rest of my story. 24. So imagine our 13 and 14-year-olds. Because the average age that a victim is sold into sex trafficking is 13 years old. In the beginning, he was exactly what I described in the video of the boyfriend. He was nice, he was pleasant, nobody would have ever expected it. He never physically abused me. And then things turned. He became possessive. He started to threaten my life, the lives of those around me. And this is something that's happening every day. And it wouldn't be happening without men purchasing these victims for their own satisfaction and self-entitlement. So we don't have time to give a round of applause, but if we did, men in the room, awesome. Awesome that you guys are here. You guys set the stage for making a change. I would like to think that all of my buyers didn't know what was going on behind closed doors because of lack of education. So I do believe that education can and will lead to prevention. Most men, otherwise ordinary men, middle-aged white men, are the numbers, are the statistics of men who are purchasing people. Every single day. We need to do something about this. So yes, I absolutely believe that the men in this room have the upper hand. So you guys can go talk to your friends and say, hey, that girl at the bachelor party probably doesn't want to be there. Or the girl at the strip club. And now I want to say, this does happen to boys. And I say this at every single speaking event. I'm speaking from my perspective because I'm a female. But I don't want to negate the fact that it does happen to boys, and it's happening to boys every single day. But unfortunately, boys don't report. There's shame and stigma attached if they were to even say something had happened. Because again, back to the misconception of culture, that is what has been instilled in our minds for hundreds of years, that we don't talk about those things. But we need to start talking. It's 2019. Let's get with it. How many of you have heard on social media? What time is it? Okay, perfect. How many of you have heard on social media that someone was going to be sex trafficked out of Target parking lot, kidnapped and sex trafficked out of Target parking lot? Yeah? Ooh, usually I get more hands. Okay, well, it's a thing. It's happened on my news feed, so it must be real. I want you guys to know that there were just under 300 calls to the National Human Trafficking Hotline last year. 0 were kidnapping. So how we used to talk about stranger danger, we now need to tell our youth that there's people that are going to get close to us and maybe do bad things, and it's not always strangers. I want you guys to go to lacyshopeproject.org. There are stuff on your tables, and I'm so sorry that this ran over, so I do apologize, and I want to keep you guys on schedule. My website has a plethora of information for you guys to be able to reference. We also have on my website a resources page that gives a bunch of other resources, right? Because Lacey's Hope Project is not the end-all be-all for sex trafficking. I don't have a home. I do work directly with survivors, but I can't do everything, and it's going to take a village. So go to our site, become educated, learn what the red flags are, and how to do something differently. Any questions?
Questions for Lacey?
Emmy, you're close.
What's the tattoos? Can you go back?
Oh, I can go back. So these are some of the red flags. All of a sudden, someone showing up, maybe 17 years old and with a tattoo, and you know that person didn't go to a tattoo shop. A lot of traffickers will brand their victims. I was branded on the back of my leg with a hot metal pipe, so it's not a tattoo, and it is a mark that I can cover up. So nobody would know, like you guys wouldn't know if I didn't tell you it was there. But certain markings, maybe if you see 1 or 2 individuals with the same markings, that would absolutely be a red flag.
Questions?
We have time for maybe 1 or 2 more. If you guys have some, yes. Oh.
I'll ask you a similar question I asked the group this morning, but as Rotarians, I know we have the sheet you put on the table. What types of tips, suggestions, or things can we do for you, whether it be funding, resources, setting up conferences, setting up awareness within our community, bringing leaders together for you to come and speak at? What kinds of things would you like from us to help you?
That's an absolutely great question. So what can you guys do? You guys can, 1, continue to start the conversation and talk about it. Educate the people around you. Host an event. I will come out for a small event. It doesn't have to be some conference. Have someone watch my documentary. And funding. Funding is absolutely important because we are privately funded. We are not able to provide our emergency services a hotel room for the night. I run an assisted living facility, so I hire other survivors. And with that comes certifying them to become a caregiver in Wisconsin. And that's about $400. Lacey's Hope Project is able to provide those funds through private donations so they can come work for me, get a livable wage, and start a career, right? Because you don't have $400 coming right out of the life. But talking about it, that's always my number 1 answer. Start to have these conversations.
Lacey, did you point out someone earlier that had a question?
He's close.
Okay.
It's okay. You were close.
Emmy, you're close.
you kind of ended your story when you got into the police officer's car. Can you tell us about a kind of a time frame? You must have needed counseling, and I'm just curious, does this, does it ever get normal? Does it ever feel normal again, your life again?
Normal? Depends what normal is. I am still in counseling, so I've been in extensive trauma counseling since I was out, so in 2013, so let's just say 14. I have done a lot of different things. Right now my counseling sessions are mainly to discuss how I can better communicate with my employees and employees that are triggering, right, because they're fresh out of the life. And with that comes a lot of stuff. So, but I am willing to take steps that unfortunately not a lot of others are willing to do. And healing takes time. I'm never going to be fixed. I'm never going to be better. I probably drive my husband absolutely crazy, but I don't think I know. But it takes time. Rebecca Bender is an amazing survivor leader on the West Coast, and she says you can't hand a survivor a GED and Jesus and expect things to turn around overnight. That's not how it works, so it has taken time. I just started horse therapy, which is amazing. I am absolutely addicted to work. Pat will attest to that. I have been on my phone all morning because I don't let things go. And I had to figure out a solution to a problem. And I'm very much addicted to my work like I was drugs. Obviously, one is better than the other. But horse therapy is something new for me, to be in the now and to let go of control and have to focus on what I'm doing. So there's definitely a variety of things that I have done and steps I have taken to continue to be the incredible leader that I have become, and so I can be a leader for my residents and my staff and the people around me. Yes, last question. I'll repeat it. That's a great question. So what can she do with her daughter that's very shy, doesn't want to talk about things, and clams up when she, talks about tough topics? So what all of you can do, and that's an absolutely, great question. Number one, be compassionate. Take time. But most importantly, be non-judgmental and stay consistent. I didn't want to tell my mom anything, because her reaction, I'm going to assume, was exact opposite of yours. And she lashed out and didn't have appropriate, said inappropriate things and called me inappropriate names. So when the time came, I went from being that all-around American girl in school to saying, screw it. Bye, I don't want anything to do with you. So I think you, first and foremost, even being able to recognize, that's how she's feeling, is a huge start. I think you could say to anybody that you guys want to talk to about this, say, hey, I met this girl, super cute and really crazy and fun, seriously, right? Because you just want to start the conversation out really casual. And say, look at this video she told me to watch. Say you haven't watched it yet, and say, let's watch it together. Don't even say what it is. And then that might segue the conversation. And you're right, she's probably not going to talk. I'm seeing a 14-year-old girl right now in the county that I live in. CPS called me. The damage is done. There's no turning back for her. She's already been trafficked. She's already been abused. I've been to her house 4 times. One time, she uncovered herself from the blankets, uncovered her face, and said a few words to me, then covered her face back up. But I keep going to show her that I'm there and that I'm not going to judge her. But I'm going to tell you something. It's going to be a hell of a lot easier for you to have that difficult discussion and to bring it up in a non-threatening, safe environment, right? All those things, than it is to talk to that 14-year-old. I had to tell her mom a couple of weeks ago that I can't keep coming back. She doesn't want to talk to me. I've been there 4 or 5 times. The damage is done. And as sad as that is, there is nothing I can do. But what you can do is have a serious conversation to prevent it. Again, education can and will lead to prevention. So have those difficult discussions before it's too late. Yeah. No, ma'am. So it is very hard to prosecute traffickers. Was my trafficker brought to justice? I have no idea what's going on with him. I don't really care to know, but I think that's, my mind trying to block things out. So no. Thank you all so much for being here. I am absolutely sorry that went way faster than ever, and I can fit my presentation into 15 minutes, so I don't know what happened. Thank you all so much for being here.